The laugh came first, sharp, careless, echoing across the rooftop helipad like a blade slicing through silence. It wasn't the wind from the city far below or the grinding cough of the broken helicopter engine that froze everyone in place. It was the sound of humiliation, delivered publicly, confidently, and without mercy. A powerful CEO, polished shoes glinting in the sun, pointed toward the grease-stained janitor standing alone near the aircraft and mocked him with a challenge so cruel it made even seasoned executives shift uncomfortably. "Fix this helicopter, and I'll kiss you right now." The words hung in the air, heavy with ridicule, as dozens of eyes turned toward the single father who had nothing to lose, and everything to protect. Before the story goes any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet strength of people the world overlooks, please take a moment to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps stories like this alive. The janitor's name was Daniel Reed, though almost no one there knew it. To them, he was just the man who pushed a mop through marble hallways before sunrise, who emptied trash bins after board meetings ended, who fixed flickering lights without being asked and disappeared before he could be thanked. Daniel had learned long ago how to be invisible. After his wife died in a roadside accident 6 years earlier, invisibility became survival. He worked nights and weekends, took extra shifts without complaint, and saved every possible dollar for his daughter Lily, whose asthma medication alone cost more than most people's monthly groceries. Each morning, he packed her lunch with notes scribbled on torn paper, promising that things would get better, even when he wasn't sure how. That morning, Daniel hadn't even been scheduled to be on the helipad. He'd been called up because a leaking hydraulic line had left oily streaks across the concrete, and the executives were expecting an important investor to arrive by air within the hour. The helicopter sat wounded and silent, its sleek body betraying none of the panic it had caused behind closed doors. Mechanics had tried and failed to get it running. The CEO, already furious about delays, noticed Daniel lingering near the aircraft longer than expected, his eyes tracing familiar lines along the engine housing, his hands unconsciously wiping grease the way muscle memory remembered from another life. Years ago, before tragedy rearranged everything, Daniel had been an aircraft maintenance engineer. He had trained on helicopters during his time in the service, learned to listen to engines the way doctors listen to hearts. But after his wife's death, grief swallowed ambition. He missed deadlines, withdrew from colleagues, and eventually lost the job that had once defined him. The janitor position at the corporate tower was never meant to be permanent. It was supposed to be a bridge. Somehow, it became a sentence. When the CEO mocked him, Daniel felt heat rush to his face, not from embarrassment alone but from fear. Fear that Lily's world would collapse if he lost this job too. Fear that standing out would only make things worse. Around him, laughter scattered like nervous sparks. Some people smiled out of obligation. Others looked away, ashamed but silent. Daniel stared at the helicopter, his heart pounding louder than the city below. He knew what was wrong with it. He could hear it, even without the engine running, could almost feel the imbalance in the system through the soles of his boots. The challenge was never about the helicopter. It was about power. About reminding everyone who belonged on that rooftop and who didn't. The CEO's words were a performance, meant to entertain and intimidate in equal measure. Daniel understood the two. He had spent years learning how the world treated men who fell from grace. Still, something shifted inside him. Maybe it was exhaustion from carrying grief alone for too long. Maybe it was the image of Lily coughing through the night, trusting him to always find a way. Daniel stepped forward, his movements calm despite the storm inside his chest. He didn't argue. He didn't defend himself. He simply asked for tools. That alone silenced the laughter. As Daniel worked, time seemed to slow. The rooftop faded, replaced by memories of hangars filled with metal and light, of mentors who taught him patience and precision. His hands moved with quiet confidence, checking valves, tracing lines, adjusting a pressure regulator that had been misaligned by a rushed repair earlier that morning. Sweat mixed with grease on his brow. The wind tugged at his jacket. Every second felt borrowed. Executives whispered among themselves. Some scoffed. Others watched more closely now, curiosity overtaking disdain. The CEO stood with arms crossed, amusement flickering with irritation as minutes passed without failure. When Daniel finally stepped back, signaling for the ignition to be tested. A hush fell over the helipad. The engine coughed once, then roared to life. The sound was thunderous, undeniable, and real. The helicopter's blades began to spin, faster and faster, cutting through the air with controlled power. No alarms blared. No smoke rose. It was fixed. Silence followed, thick and absolute. Daniel didn't smile. He didn't look toward the CEO. He simply wiped his hands on a rag and stepped away, already bracing himself for consequences. But what came next wasn't punishment, it was confusion. The CEO's face drained of color, the mockery collapsing into something closer to disbelief. Applause started hesitantly from the edge of the crowd, then grew, awkward and unplanned, until the rooftop echoed with it. That day changed everything, though not all at once. Rumors spread through the building by lunchtime. By evening, Daniel was called into an office he had only ever cleaned. Questions were asked. Records were checked. His past came to light, not as a scandal, but as a story of loss and survival. The CEO, now forced to confront the weight of his own cruelty, offered apologies that sounded rehearsed but carried real consequences. Daniel was offered a temporary consulting role. Then a permanent position. Then something more, a chance to return to the work he loved, on his terms. But the most important change happened quietly, at home, when Daniel came back earlier than usual and found Lily coloring at the kitchen table. He told her that sometimes, people forget who you are until you remind them. He told her that being kind doesn't mean being weak, and that even when the world laughs, you don't have to laugh with it. Lily hugged him tightly, her breathing steady, her trust unbroken. Weeks later, the helicopter incident became a corporate legend, retold with softened edges and lessons attached. The CEO never joked like that again. Employees began greeting Daniel by name. Some apologized for their silence that day. Others simply thanked him, for fixing the helicopter, yes, but more for showing them what dignity looked like under pressure. As you reflect on this story, take a moment to comment below before the ending and share what this moment meant to you, whether it reminded you of your own struggles, your quiet strengths, or someone you believe deserves a second chance. Near the end of the year, Daniel stood once more on the rooftop, this time overseeing a safety inspection. The city lights flickered on as dusk settled, and helicopters came and went without incident. He thought about how close he'd come to staying silent, to shrinking back into the shadows. He thought about how easily life could have gone another way. And he felt something he hadn't allowed himself to feel in years. Hope, not loud or dramatic, but steady and real. If this story touched your heart, if it made you believe even a little more in empathy, resilience, and the power of seeing people for who they truly are, please engage with this video. Like it, share it, and let us know in the comments. Your interaction helps these stories reach others who might need them most. Because sometimes the world laughs first. But when courage answers quietly, everything else has to listen.